I want you to feel through my music, feel through my music. Find your true self, nothing real in my music. Fear is no tears, getting filled with my music. Set the foundation so they build from my music. I got skills of the music. Real, not the music. My vocab to say shit. Real, not the music. I set the music out. Real, not the music. I will not quit so I cannot feel. I got the wheel, I'm trying to do it. I can already raising the project down. My prodigy, listening to it. They cannot stop me. You better watch me. This ain't a movie. This is a movie. If it ain't a movie, then it will not move. If you know me, this is the new me. You see the old me telling me, oh, myself alone. This is the true me. I'm a true remedy, smooth. That's what's smooth. Train. I promise you, I will not let the world consume me. Remember my liability, you don't like it, then you assume it. Have that, literally. When she won the world, she won that. So many guys such work. Always speak your work as a life, and for how long will it take? Well, I mean, slow up the tempo, start reciting my tempo. Message is simple, better outcome for my tempo. You ever been broke? I'm talking money, bones, and code. Mental radar, a true hunter, life, info. I took up instrumentals, tap in and my piano, and then I give them a view from my seven-side window. Fire burning inside, you can find me where the wind flows. No urgents in my circle, family matters like the wind blows. Strikes and whistles, I've been official. Detrimental can't come with you unless it has been official. No more stress and addressing what's been an issue. I ain't resting, I'm invested to murder. I must continue. Seeking truth, dig deep when you find it. It's a hard bite to swallow when you're the one on the menu. I said, seeking truth, dig deep when you find it. It's a hard bite to swallow when you're the one on the menu. My truth, I enjoy it. When you feel that, honestly, you feel like most fun thing when you get a bit more excited about what you're doing. You gotta be really honest with yourself. You wake up in the morning and you're trying to go to work, do something else. Do something else. And those are hard decisions to make. But when you make those decisions, it's a very liberating experience. And you find out that the rewards will come.
Peace, love, divine light, soul society. We are back at it again with Marz Majik, where conversation meets consciousness and we tap into purpose, perspective, and growth. Last episode, we sat down with the sister Frederica Robertson and we explored turning pain into purpose. A powerful reminder that even in loss, there's room for impact, healing, and transformation. And so we shift the energy just a little bit this evening to talk about creation, discipline, and becoming who you are called to be in a different light. All right, and so before we get into the meat of the conversation and bring our guest up, you know, we always start each round off with a breathing exercise. And so we simply inhale through the nose for 3, we'll hold for 4, and then exhale for 6. As we inhale love, peace, positivity, and we exhale everything on the reverse side, all of those negative energies, all of that stress, all of that doubt. All right, so if you're ready, if you're in your cars, in your vehicles, please do not close your eyes. I know I like to close my eyes when I breathe intentionally. However, remember you can always do this exercise when you exit your vehicles. It's something that's always good to do throughout your day. All right, so on 3, breathe with me. Let's inhale, exhale. One more time. Inhale, exhale. And I think we should do it a third time. Let's inhale again, all of that goodness, all of that positivity, all of the prosperity, all of the peace that you desire. Exhaling all of those things that do not serve you and are not helping you or aiding you on your journey to achieving those things. And with that being said, our opening affirmation is I trust my path, I stay consistent in my purpose, and I honor the vision placed inside me. One more time. I trust my path. I stay consistent in my purpose and I honor the vision placed inside me. Just a quick disclaimer. Do know and understand that the views expressed during this particular episode are intended to inspire, inform, and encourage thoughtful conversation that can ultimately help us to elevate society and start to shift the narrative and bring us together as a people, as a tribe, as a community. So we invite listeners to take what resonates, those things that you find beneficial to actually apply to your everyday life, and that's in alignment with your path and your journey going forward. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, any boys and girls that might be tuned in listening, do know that we appreciate you lending us your time and energy. I'm so excited for this evening's conversation. It's all about pivot, and this brother most definitely knows a little bit about that. He is a creative in so many aspects of the word, from visuals to music. He has a passion and a love for cars, something that I found out recently. He is a classmate, a brother that I would like to call a friend. It is the one and only Mighty Klos3. How
Hey,
you
what up?
feeling,
What up?
Mighty
What up?
Klos3?
What's up with you? You all right?
Yes, I am doing good. Thank you for
Yeah.
asking.
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. I appreciate you for allowing me on and giving me this opportunity.
Already.
Hmm.
Speaking of having you on, right? For those that don't know you, aren't familiar with Takoya or Mighty Close, give us a little bit of an introduction in your own words as to who you are and what you represent at the core.
Um, at the core of all of this, like even just including myself, period, is God. You got to have Him at the core of all that you do. Um, and around that, then there's me. Takoya Kegler. Went to school at Westover. Uh, oh fire, you know what it is. Um, Went to school at Fort Valley State University for college. That's my education in a nutshell. But just overall, as life is just to be as creative and hardworking as positive you can be, and that's me in a nutshell.
Word. Um, so I mentioned, your passions being art, and then you
Hmm.
have a love for cars.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about how those two worlds connect for you on a grander scheme.
Okay. Well, so my family's from a smaller town, Blakely, Georgia, and we end up coming this way around like '96. So I got picked on a little bit. So my escapism was my art. So it started off with me drawing on tables and stuff in class, and the teacher getting upset about it. To my parents taking time to be like, okay, we're gonna get them some notebooks. So that was a way to be able to express yourself a lot without having to go towards anger all the time, if that make any sense. And cars just kind of fell into it. Ever since I was a little one, Hot Wheels was my favorite cars. So because well back then, they were like 99 cent. They like $4.50 some change and stuff now. So it wasn't hard to get one back then. But my love for cars fell into it. And to be honest with you, there was one car that I did see when I was younger that left an impression on me. And I think that's what really made me fall into cars the way I have. It was a 1987 Chevy Monte Carlo SS. Um, Burgundy on the outside, had the orange trim, and we was in the house just chilling. Me and some other kids. Um, we was at I was at some friend's house just chilling and heard something crank up out the door and it sounded like a monster or something or something. So we ended up stepping out the door and seeing it was that car, and ever since then, hey, I fell in love with that. And art just kind of all of it couples together, and also falling into it with the music as well. Um, I don't know. I just kind of feel as a person when it comes to you being creative, you don't necessarily have to stay in one lane. You can open yourself up and try each avenue and see what works for you.
That word. And it does make sense, because art definitely ties into cars when we think
Yes.
about the make of the car and the
Hmm.
craftsmanship behind the car,
Right.
the collaboration on not only the design on the
Right.
outside, but also the interior,
Yeah.
um, the colors, the
Right.
blends. So
Right.
it most definitely makes sense that, these worlds would blend for you. So
Right.
when did you first realize that creativity was something that was meant for you to pursue? Because I can vividly remember you in art class and things of that nature,
Right.
thinking back on it. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
And even how your art has evolved from,
Right.
say, grade school to now.
Hmm. Um. Well, it's especially when it comes to the evolution of I guess my artwork. Um. Everything was just rooted in I guess just opening up to be creative, and that's one of the hardest things to do. When it came to my artwork and music and things like that, it to be 100 with you. Just like how life is, we know that we have the capabilities to do these things, but sometimes your gift, even though you do it, doesn't necessarily get revealed to you until it gets revealed to you. If that makes any sense. So here I am, been doing this a long time, and it really hasn't been until uh, really these past couple of years to where I've actually been able to put passion into it. But the creativeness of it it's something that we all are born with, but it kind of gets stifled as we get older because people start to lose their imagination, right? And you have to always keep your imagination with you, regardless of how old you are. People want to call it delusion. It's not delusion. This is actually having imagination. So that's almost like having a goal in mind and not actually being able to get there just yet, but having a complete visual on it. So having that imagination allows you to be able to create. And we tend to stifle that with us getting older. So um, I don't know. I hit like a breaking point in my career, and I was like, you know what? Um, you ain't did this in a minute. Sit down and create or see what happens or whatnot. And the more that I sat down and created and started to put out, the more of me started to give itself because unfortunately we don't come into ourselves at an early age. We don't find out who we are until we start hitting our 40s. People, yeah, you might think you know who you are, but you don't actually know who you are until you've gotten close to the age of 40, where it's like, I understand this half of me, right? I understood the 20 part, and here we are now at 40. What am I going to do different with these next 40 years? So that's where that mindset starts to change. Are you going to stay in that same box that you've been containing yourself in, allowing others to put you in, or are you going to step outside of that box? So if you knew that this half of your life didn't quite pan out, so now you know yourself and you know the things that you need to change in order for you to get where you're going. So now you officially make those changes. Um, so that's what it was for me, and I just allowed the floodgates to come open. So and I try not to hinder myself on whatever it is. So if I can't think about painting today, I might jump on music. If I can't think about music, I might write something. I also do a motivational, spiritual board that I do. I take my time and invest into that or whatnot because it allows you to build yourself and keep yourself open to things around you to keep you from being stuck.
Yeah, I've definitely seen your math of the day. Um, because that's exactly what it is.
Mhm.
In your own way, it's a supreme mathematic breakdown for the day.
Right,
And for anybody who's inclined or in tune with what that is, then following you is most definitely beneficial because you give some good insight, and most definitely, regardless of how do we say our faith base, right?
right,
It's motivation that
right.
anybody could take with them throughout the day to actually be. And I don't want to compare it to like horoscopes, but it's
Mm,
a different perspective, and it's something that you can hold on throughout the day, and
right,
you not necessarily be looking forward to like, oh, something bad is going to happen throughout the day. But no, this is
right,
how you can be motivated and encouraged throughout the day, to
right,
actually hit those highs that you're looking for. And
right.
so just thinking on the creativity just a little bit, because you said a couple things that kind of stood out.
Hmm.
And one is that we all come here with a creative energy, right? And a creative
Right,
spirit. And then
right.
life has this way of disconnecting us or throwing these distractions and hindrances in the way that drive us away from that creativity. And it
Hmm.
kind of goes back into your math and that whole God factor when we think about energy,
Mm,
and the fact that our sacral energy, which is represented by the color orange, but that's our creative center.
right.
And it's always been, ever since I started, diving into energy work, it's always been amazing that the sacral energy, sacred, what I'm
Mm,
saying, is associated with creativity and
right.
us being able to tap into that imaginative space that often comes with us being able to tap into our younger self. And whether
Hmm.
that's a healed younger self
Oh
or
yeah,
not so healed younger self that needs some
yeah.
work, but I love the way you bring those things together. And so speaking of life and those motivations and how it can throw those curveballs, what have been some of your biggest life lessons up until this point?
Um, Learning to be still. See, and when you say still, people think of not moving, but it's possible for you to be still and still move, if that make any sense. Like you could be still in mind and still be moving and doing what you're supposed to. So, let's say everything around you is, I don't know, falling into chaos and stuff like that. You know that you have to be able to keep your mind still enough to be able to react like you need to, not how the situation is dictating for you to react. So if the situation is telling you to be afraid, but then you know in your mind you can't be afraid because it's keeping you from moving forward. So like if you when it, like I said, at the end of the day, when it comes to it, you can't allow yourself to hold yourself back. So in that stillness, you can still do in your stillness, you still can do what's being advised of you to do. If you want to work at this job and promote yourself forward, but a lot of things are happening around you, a bad environment, bad work environment, you can still be still in mind and do what you're supposed to do. As long as you're walking that path, you're okay. You're going to be protected in that path as you walk forward. It doesn't seem like it at the time. It seems like everything around you is crumbling, but as long as you continue to keep that still mind, you can receive. So as long as you're receiving, you're able to walk like you're supposed to. So being able to have a still mind through everything that you go through, I'm not saying it's not going to affect you. It is. It's going to hurt you. You're going to cry. You're going to be devastated while all these things are going on around you. But you have to understand that that devastation is not there to hurt you. It's only to help build you. And in order for you to get to that state, it takes time. Like, even though I'm able to speak like this, that doesn't mean that I'm standing right there at the door. I'm probably 700,000 miles away from it, but I'm a lot closer to it than I was yesterday. So now you're measuring everything by step.
Yes, mighty close. So, speaking of taking time and being still, what are some things that you had to unlearn to actually get to this point of understanding or overstanding, if you will?
Um, Understanding not to take everything personally, and uh, understand that whatever it is that you do go through is for you to grow through. It's not there to hinder you. And in this life, we're like plants. You know, you can remember being a seed, which you being a little baby, and as you're growing up and going through adolescence, and now you're becoming an adult, and things are starting to fall off of you. So now you're getting pruned. You know, so also allowing things to be able to fall off of you as well, that may continue to hold you down. Not even things that you have control over. So you have to allow those things to fall in the time that they're supposed to. Um, I would use like an example, like Erica Badu's song "Bag Lady." That's what she's talking about, carrying all of those bags. Like, you have got to put those bags and things down in order for you to move forward. So that's those have been those slight turning points and lessons and stuff in my life that again, it takes time to get there. I'm not all the way there, but you when you take the time to again receive, then you can give what needs to be given, especially when you know you're trying to walk along that same path.
Word. All right. So, this one, I don't know, it just came to me. I just kind of open up sometime. I might have a little script, but when spirit say, no, this is the direction this going in, this is where we going. So
Mm-hmm.
going back to, because it's almost like we shouldn't have to unlearn all of these things to relearn ourselves, especially when we came here
Mm-hmm.
already equipped with the tools and the resources necessary. And then here come these people and these things, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, why do you feel that we are still in that particular space as a people when it comes to you know, us having this child and them
Mm-hmm.
expressing all of these gifts and talents and, them being
Mm-hmm.
this unique individual. And
Mm-hmm.
instead of us actually focusing and nurturing those
Mm-hmm.
things, there's still this point within our society where it's like, no, you're
Mm-hmm.
not gonna do that. That's not okay. We're gonna
Mm-hmm.
take this and we're gonna turn it into this.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just allowing individuals to flourish in their natural states.
Um, because a lot of those people, they didn't, even though we're giving that, we're all, excuse me, even though we're all given that ability to be able to do that, not everyone succeeded. So because they didn't have success on the first time that they tried something, that's now a complete failure, not only for them, but for anybody else who tries. So that's like in effect of having you being a young man, and you're trying to play football. It didn't quite work out for you. Your son wants to, I don't know, go to school to be a doctor, and that's really what he wants to focus on. So now you pushing him to be a football player. That's not what he wants to do. So you're trying to get him to live a dream that you didn't get a chance to accomplish. But that's when you have to repivot, because if that dream changes, it's okay for you to change what else you want to do. But because we're so comfortable in doing only that one thing and being told that we're only good at that, that you don't believe that you're good at anything else. So now you have this child that's a prodigy that's sitting right in front of you, and instead of you taking the time to push said child or uplift that child, you would try to find something to bring that child down because you want them to feel how you felt. And that's something that we constantly see. Instead of just taking the time to lift that child up, like, okay, there are some children out here that are actually good at, pretty good at gaming. So it's like, all right, if you're gonna get on here and do this, make sure your work is here. Make sure your lesson and stuff is straight. Make sure your grades are good because now this person in effect is putting time and effort into something that can inherently end up taking care of all of y'all. Y'all see now that there are kids that are, not even breaking their teens and making upwards of millions of dollars because of their parents got behind them, or right now at an early age teaching, trying to teach your child about commerce or trying to teach them about how to start a business. But only because you didn't get a chance to do it does not mean that you can't give your children the same knowledge that you were, in effect missing. So um that's where it seems like a lot of that comes from. Just um that bit of jealousy that wasn't necessarily made on purpose, but it was made through purpose because they wasn't able to accomplish their purpose. They now see where this child has it, but because I wasn't able to accomplish it, they're not going to be able to do it either. But you have to change that mentality because whatever didn't work for you does not mean it won't work for someone else. But we have to first be able to, again, like we said earlier, step outside of that box and see that. But as long as we stay inside of that box, we'll always be closed minded.
All right. So, what would you say to those parents or even those young people listening, or even the adult people listening, who've experienced and gone through that and are trying to find their way either back or maintain that lane of creative expression and individuality?
Um, Stop looking because when you start looking for stuff, you're using your eyes to look. So that means you're only looking outside of yourself. So be still, and whatever it is that is innate inside of you will come out of you. But you have to ask yourself them questions. You're not gonna be able to look at it by getting on Instagram and trying to see what's the best thing. You're not gonna be able to get on YouTube. I want to do that and try this. You have to see what resonates with you, and it has to be with inside of you. So, um, in one of the little classes that I teach or talk, sometimes we'll have conversations, and I talk to them about your environment. So if you want your environment EN to change, you have to change your environment, your IN, that's your inner self. So once you start changing your
No,
inner
indeed.
self, once you start changing your inner self, then your environment will be a reflection of what you want to see. So do that. Find those things that work for you, that make you happy, and that produces or give you joy. Something that, if given the complete opportunity, you would do it for free just out of the joy of it. And that would be something that you can, turn around and put into because the gifts that we have, they're all meant for us to serve a purpose. And the majority of it, well, actually, all of it is to bring like enlightenment and joy to people around you because you're showing them that they can do either the same thing that you're doing by following or trying to find their light within inside themselves instead of looking for a representation of it in other people who have masks on. At least if you're looking within, you can find your real self.
Hey, I think that is a great place for us to take a break. I always tell y'all it's not about the entertainment, but the entertainment. And so that's how we entertain our inward selves. And he just broke it down even more when it comes to, you know what I'm saying? The not only entertainment, but just going inward. And, even when we think about energy and we can't always be focused on what's outside of ourselves because ultimately that's how we lost ourselves in the first place. And this is most definitely the time, the season, to go back within, especially when we think about the year of the one and that being all about knowledge. And knowledge itself is, I guess, if that was a preaching point, you know what I'm saying, that would be what I preach, is knowledge itself above everything else. You feel me? So don't y'all go anywhere. You have time to run, tell a friend to tap in and tune in to Marz Majik. We are live right now on Facebook and YouTube with my brother Mighty Klos3. And speaking of this, as we go to this break, we're about to tap into one of his tracks, Prolific RMX. It happens to be one of my favorites. And so y'all take a listen. Oh, it's the feedback.
You just gotta be broke. Yeah. Mighty Klos3. Hey, you just gotta be prolific. I'm talking positive, please. I'm pushing concentration, progress, and please be prolific. Before you stand on the block, get on the ground and chase it and get up out of the top, be prolific. Get all the knowledge you can and understand it. You got the power to go change the land, be prolific. And give me all that you got. Running at your own pace until you reach the top, be prolific. Instead of trying to be a copycat, listen to it, go Rico man, boy, you flat. Who was you? Looking good, color, don't why. Sitting on the label with the comments, you're so hard. Everybody striving after something like a playground. Even sweats up out of circle like I go on playground. But if it's not for my highest good, it makes it really better. I got legitimate ways for me to stick with shit. It's probably not for me because I'm a go getter. Stepping on the track like I was blowing. Ghost nigga, stacking more fingers than one touch with 6 fingers. Colder than the nose, you just gotta be prolific. I'm talking positive keys, I'm pushing power, preservation, progress, and please be prolific. Before you stand on the block, get on the ground and chase it back and get up out of the top, be prolific. Get all the knowledge you can and understand it. You got the power to go change the land and be prolific. And give it all that you got. Running at your own race until you reach the top. Be prolific. Stay up like snow. It's like a blow game in a line. Dog go sniff it. Be prolific. You know that being close day. On the ground, you try to get some more stacks. Hustle up the go. Yeah, say it's smoke and keep fine. That is smoke. Whoa, check. If you man on back, that's what started. So they coming for the whole day. Ain't no slack with the pros in the best. Ain't no that out the best. That you know that I'm the best. Niggas still hella fresh. There's nothing up above it. My reply when they ask me how you just gotta be prolific. I'm talking positive keys. I'm pushing power, preservation, progress, and peace. Be prolific. Before you stand on the block, get on the grind, go chase it back, get up out of the pot. Be prolific. Get all the knowledge you can and understand it. You got the power to go change the land. Be prolific. And give it all that you got. Running at your own race until you reach the top. Be prolific.
Yo, so exciting. That was our brother Mighty Klos3, closer than far, with Prolific RMX. Yo, and y'all see why I say that's one of my favorite, right? You gotta be prolific. I'm talking positive. Peace. Hey, bro, stop playing with him. Ah! Speaking of, let's put it back on the screen.
Yeah,
Yo.
yeah.
So, when it comes to your musical artistry, give us a little bit of the backstory behind that particular piece, and um, the message in your music.
Well, I come from like a kind of a little bit of a musical family. Everybody like can sing real good, especially when it comes to church music. But like when it came to me, I couldn't really sing like that. Um, it started off honestly with me writing poetry, and then it went from me writing poetry to I had a whole bunch of homeboys that was around me when I went to school in Fort Valley, and all of them like were some of the most lyrically, gifted and talented people that I had ever. And you know what I'm saying? At least to me, I'm like I can't do that. So it really enticed me to start. Even though I wasn't really recording and being a rapper as much, but just to work on some penmanship from time to time. Um, and I've been making beats since like 2007. So all of that has kind of been like encompassing. Um, and to be honest with you, all these years, I think I've made like maybe one mixtape that nobody ever heard. I'd have lost the files and stuff too, gone a long time ago. Um, and it wasn't until about maybe 2 years ago that I don't know, I had sat down and wrote a little small rap to this beat I had made and was chilling with my fiance. She had done took me out for my birthday. She took me to the Trap Museum in Atlanta. If you have not been to the Trap Museum in Atlanta, I advise you go. Um, but once I got there, I seen like all the artists from Gucci to Phil Mob to anybody that was even Future, everybody that kind of made me think about music. um, I'm now seeing artwork and pictures, and I'm looking at lyrics from Young Draw on the wall. I'm like, man, so I took this one opportunity to spit this verse to this beat, and after a whole bunch of changes, because you're always constantly working on yourself. Because I said if I made a song, I wanted to be in a situation to where I could play it around my kids, or I could, play it because I like to play music like real, 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 real loud. So if I could play it loud and people actually enticed by, what's being played without having all the extra in it, then okay, cool. So I started moving towards making that, and the song that came about was the song "Faith." And then like every other track that's on my project, all them follow suit. Each one of those songs are like literally made one after each other. I didn't force anything. Another thing I did too, going back to that being still moment, I fell back and I let the songs come to me. Um, I got a song called Walk With Me. I had actually written that song about, I don't know, 4 years ago, and didn't make a beat for it until about a year ago. But the once everything fell into place, it felt like it was supposed to. Um, like I said, those were more of my beginning stages with it. I don't know, just normal stuff too. Riding around with your pops in the car. My dad had us listening to Biggie. You know what I'm saying? So the music was always around us in some form or fashion. And even though I didn't start being able to take it seriously until about, like I said, about a year or two ago, I started kind of developing myself in it even more, and that furthermore produced with the art and everything just kind of opened up like a floodgate. Um, so um, that's how that that's how that happened.
All right, well, that's what's up. So
Yeah.
something else that has always been around us, much like music, are
Mhm.
our herbal allies. And so this is where we're going to take our moment to hop into the herbal corner and focus on some herbs that help us to focus, help with
Yeah.
creativity as well as balance. The first one up is Gouda Cola. Known for supporting mental clarity and focus, it is great for creatives who need to stay sharp and consistent. Next is Damiana. I like to say Damania, but because it
Yeah.
has a little euphoric ability to it, and so it supports mood, creativity, and flow state. It helps us to stay inspired and connected to our work. Last but certainly not least is peppermint. It is a refreshing and energizing herb. It supports mental alertness and clarity, especially when working long hours and or building something. So, Mighty Close, when we think about these herbal supports, right? Um,
Mhm.
what are some things that you do on a regular basis that are a part of, like your daily routine or routine in general to help you return to center and maintain balance and focus?
Um, well, this gonna sound a little crazy, but they say if you want to be about your business and move like a business minded person, it's about the time that you wake up and how you utilize your time. Um, I hadn't done it in a minute, but I had a nice little routine where I would wake up around about 3 o'clock in the morning, uh, pray, of course, because he just woke up, and then get an exercise going, 20, 50 push-ups, 50 leg lifts, and then go jog a mile and try to get all that done before work. And because you're getting up early enough, you're managing your time the way you want to, and you're actually investing in yourself. Another thing I also do, I try to listen to a lot of positive, motivational speeches. I don't know if you ever heard of Dr. Kyle Monroe. Um, he's very, very, very motivational. He passed, he passed in 2014, I believe, but a lot of his motivational speeches and stuff still ring true. And a lot of them are, if not, spiritually aligned, they also biblically aligned. If you're trying to, have something positive to help guide your way. Uh, let's see. Trying to think what else I do. Oh, like I said, preparing for work. I don't know how everybody else work, but I like to get up in the morning and iron my clothes like right before work. That gives like a little zen, a little space for yourself. And I don't know what it is about putting creases in my uniform, but hey, it most definitely helps. Also, the job I have, I drive like 2 hours and 17 minutes up there and back every day. So during that time, I also find time to invest in myself. So I've given, time to God, the Creator. I've given, time to my body as I was supposed to. So now on this 2 hour drive, let me work on my mind. So if there's music, that I want to listen to or something that I can, think about to help give that positive motivation, you know, to myself throughout the day. And I know that sounds selfish, but I can't give it to anybody else if I ain't got it. So I got to give it to me first, so I can give it, so I can give it to other people. So you're in effect, charging yourself before the day even hits. So learning to kind of start your day a little bit early, so you can actually take full advantage of the day. Um, we hear from rappers, poets, and just people alike that there's not enough time in the day, and there is because we all have the same 24 hours. It's just how you choose to use it. So if it takes you going to bed at 9 to be able to pop up at 3 to accomplish those things in the morning, to be able to safely drive and get where you need to go, be there and actually want to be there where you're going because you mentally prepared yourself before you've gotten there. Versus I don't know if you ever been like me, in a car ride before you even get to work and you crying for you. you cry, you crying for you get the you you get in the parking
But then
lot. They
when it's
talking,
time to be like, hey, I'm finna turn in that
yeah,
resignation little,
yeah.
but you
You
got me
got
stressed
the
before
you
I
got the
even get to the building.
yeah. You got to go from listening to Tamala Man to turning on Crime Mob to get you straight before you
Look
get
if
ready
you
to go
buck. I
into
know that's real. Ha.
because you got to get yourself together. So, like I say, for the biggest that's been mainly my routine. Like I say, I haven't really been on it like that, but again, once you start a routine, the hardest part of it is maintaining it. So that's why I say I haven't been doing. I just need to get back to it. So.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? That brings us that also brings us to our history moment. We like to celebrate us and our history, our legacies 365.
Mm,
Not just during the month of February because our greatness never stops. All right.
mm,
So this evening we highlight Garrett Morgan. Garrett Morgan was an inventor and entrepreneur known for creating the traffic signal. Hey, I'm
mm,
trying to tell you, safety first. If it was
yeah.
not for him, many of us would be crashing and burning out on the road every day. And the fact
Mm,
that you drive the roads every day, 2+ hours, you know what I'm saying? People like Brother Morgan are definitely important when it
oh
comes
yeah.
to improving safety systems and how they impact us to this day. Beyond his inventions, he was a
Mm,
man who built from vision. He saw problems, created solutions, and turned ideas into something real without waiting for permission. Much like the energy that Mighty Klos has brought us this evening when it comes to our creativity, us staying connected to our imagination and
mm.
continuing to grow and build from our experiences. And so, Mighty Klos, if you would tell us a little bit about somebody in your life or throughout history that has had an impact on you, your transformation, your journey in general.
Um, well, I'm gonna put God first. So I'm always do that. Because without him, couldn't even wake up in the, wake up to be able to do this. So that's why, the stress is put so much on uh accepting that gift that he gave you and allowing you to be able to showcase it. That gives that thanks. Um, then my family. Um, especially in these days and times, that's the only thing that you have to lean back on. You can always count on that person for a good word. I can call my mom or my dad up, or my brothers. I also have a younger sister. So these are people that you can always get knowledge from, because nothing is necessarily based off of your age. It's all based off of your experience. So uh man, just any good person that's just really been around my life. You do your best to try to not necessarily find a mentor in a person, but find a mentor in life, because it'll be able to teach you a whole lot more than just what that person will be able to show you. So like I said, I just do my best to try to stay open with where I get and gain knowledge from. Being mindful of the energy that you keep around yourself. But before you can mind that energy that you keep around you, have to first mind yours. Because whatever you put out into the universe is what you essentially going to attract. From the way that you do things, even to the way that you speak and deal and handle people. So just life itself has been that great benefactor in making the necessary changes, because you see how things work, and you want to be able to walk towards that vision that you see, that imagination, that you created in front of yourself, that nobody else can see, but is tangible. You have to do that in order to get to it.
I love it. Gratitude should be your attitude because your attitude most definitely determines your altitude. I don't know if they taught y'all that, if they still teach that in grade school or not, but parents make sure you are giving that to your children. You know what I'm saying? Because that's a part
Mhm.
of us being able to pass down those things that keep us from having to unlearn so much. You feel me?
Mm.
And you've mentioned God a few times, and I love it. And the fact that a lot of your music is spiritual music, however,
Mhm.
it's not, how do we say, it's again music that anyone across denominations or non-denominations can listen to because it's not just like heavy Jesus music, but
Right,
it's God-bodied music. You feel
right,
me?
right,
And
right,
it's a difference
right.
because I'm one of those people. I grew up in church, even though
Mhm.
I'm not a follower of Christ. I am heavy on the God energy. You feel
Right,
me? And your
right.
music speaks to that. And one of your mottos is Matthew 7:8, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. For
Yes,
everyone who asks receives. And
yes.
so, what does that scripture mean to you personally? And how did it become your favorite script and, turned into your life motto?
Um, there was a, I had a little bit going on in my life at one point in time, and was getting ready to set up an office area somewhere, and just got to digging through a whole bunch of stuff, and ended up coming across a dry erase board. And on that dry erase board, when I turned it around, that was the the scripture that was written on it. So I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know what it meant at the time, but I took the board and I put it in view, and I always kept that board with me, and I never changed that board, and that was years ago. And as life started to kind of pick up, I started to understand and see that whatever it is that you ask for, if you're seeking it, you'll receive it. But this is the thing, even though the scripture is speaking on it in a good term, you can also take that scripture and twist it to where you're seeking, this off-putting thing or this bad thing, and that is essentially what you're going to find. So what they did was that taught me to set my sights on things a little bit different. Instead of saying I can't, start focusing on I haven't yet, or changing the way that I talk and how things come. Because if I'm asking for it, I have to start preparing my mind for it for me to be able to receive it. That's almost a one-on-one on manifestation. You have to first, we could talk about it all day, we could write about it all day, we can journal about it all day, but are you actually moving, within what you're talking about? And that's what that scripture calls you to do. Because in order for you to first do it, you have to ask, and that's a part of doing. So once you ask, you now are on the path to do what it is that you set forth to do. um, and it's been a very heavy staple in my life, because and also in asking, you also have to put in the work. So you can't just ask for it, because if you never seek, how could you ever receive? So you have to put in the work for what it is that you're looking for. So
Faith without works.
it's dead. You can't do nothing without it. If you can have faith all day, but if you're not actually putting in the work into what it is that you have faith in, then there's no need of you, really wasting that time like that. Like you
Mhm.
can't, you can't worry and potentially pray at the same time. You got to let one of them go, and one of them ain't for your benefit. So, like I said, that has been something that's stuck with me, and it's never left me, even when things might seem like they're lowest. If you seek, you shall find. If you're looking for that way out, not the I'm finna come my way out of this, but how can I honestly get myself out of this situation? And how can I allow, this higher power to assist me with this? So you walk along the scripture. I'm not saying you got to be perfect, but if you have an understanding of it, now you can move in accordance with it. And like I said, that's what made it stick with me so much.
That's powerful. Hey, y'all listening? I hope y'all are taking notes. I hope you're writing this down. If you're not, I don't know, recording it, maybe you can take a picture and it'll work too. But asking you shall receive. You
Yes,
know what I'm saying? You have not because you ask not.
that's
Faith
not.
without works is dead.
Mhm.
You gotta have some motion, some action behind it. You feel me? Be careful what you ask for and how you
Yes,
ask for it.
yes.
When you asking for it, you better be ready to receive it. Don't
Mm,
let it fall on that ground. You better prepare yourself. You know what I'm saying?
right.
Um, is it he dropping little light jewels, but he's slick preaching over here. You feel me? If you I told y'all in the beginning with the disclaimer, take what resonates,
Yeah.
whatever applies, put it in your bag and make it made manifest. And with that being said, speaking of action, motion, what are you currently working on? What do you have already that's available for people to tap into and be able to experience? Yeah.
Well, right now, I still have my project that I did. I put it out about a year ago. So I'm still, pushing that until other music comes to me. I have began different little projects. Uh, I actually probably have maybe one or two songs that I'm working on. Because again, like I said, I don't ever want to rush the process because I don't want it to feel like it's a chore versus it being something that I want to do, and I'm putting it out as it's allowed me to be able to put it. But I'm still gonna have like that same positive energy, because again, that's honestly that's what we're missing a lot of. um, and again, like I said, just trying to make that difference from what we've been listening to for like these past couple of years. It's been a lot of doom and gloom, and it's so much so that you barely hear, any of what we used to hear in the past couple of years anywhere. So much so that I forgot what the name of the music thing said there was no no record of any rap music being on this particular chart, and that's never happened. But it's because of the energy. Once we used to sit back and make music, especially like in the early '90s, it was all positive. It was all about uplifting your people and trying to get to a point uh to where we can renew and rebuild and rework on ourselves, working on those mental health things and stuff like um that we tend to go through instead of sitting back and running from it. But um like now is that time for that change. So even if it took changing yourself and realizing, just to get a little bit biblical, almost like Paul, he had to he once he saw the light, everything changed, and you see what the betterment of it is. Just in that song Prolific, is just an encouragement to know that you can do more than what you see in front of you. So um yeah.
Okay, that's word.
Yeah.
So how can we find the project that's currently
Yeah.
out? And then outside of music, look,
Hmm.
don't make me be like, okay, I'm a violent told you in a second now.
Yeah.
Outside of music, what else do you have going on that the people can support and get behind?
um Okay, well, my project is almost everywhere on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, Apple Music. Um, I do have one video. Like I say again, you can only work with what's given to you at the time until you can do better. So I do have one video on YouTube, and I potentially want to, finish out with more videos with this project as I begin to walk into the next one. Um, and just outside of this, to be honest with you, I am just working and living like everybody else, doing a a regular degular 9 to 5. You probably will see me at Walmart somewhere. I'm so regular, but I'm wanting
You
to
have
get
art,
into.
you have
Oh yeah,
artwork.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, I got you. I got you. But I do have a lot of artwork that I'm doing. Just I want to say probably about two months ago, I had exhibited some art at Fort Valley State University, downtown in the art center. Like I said, I have a lot of art pieces that I do. I am a abstract artist, um, and I do a lot of that based off my feeling. And again, that's to keep from being inside of that box. So I have a very unorthodox style, but I feel like it's pretty good for what it is.
And then well, not we,
Mm.
but you and May have a cleaning service.
Oh
Yes,
yes,
no,
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah,
maybe
yeah.
so.
We also have a. I'm sorry, my bad. Let me throw all these extra plugs in.
You better
Also,
plug while we plug.
also, I also have a cleaning service that's called Corner to Corner Cleaning Service because we don't cut corners, we clean them. We do apartments and we also do houses. You can find our page on Facebook. Also a part of that, I pick up debris. I got a pickup truck if I need something moved from time to time. I need somebody to move something on a Friday or Saturday. Hey, I'll let you boy. Um, uh, let's see what else we got. Oh, I'm also working on a clothing line, 33rd Apparel. Just trying to get my hands into everywhere that I can to keep, kind of motivated and pushing. So if I'm not sitting back and working on that, then working on designs and stuff for my clothing company. We're gonna speak that to existence. My clothing company, and I have uh, slight aspirations of wanting to begin a record label down here in Albany. So like I said, that's my imagination. So I'm trying to walk towards it.
That's real. So, in closing, if
Hmm.
there's one thing that you want the people to remember about you, what would that be?
That no matter whatever situation was going on in my life or their lives, if we were able to be around and with each other, that I did my best to help motivate you through that situation, and we was able to see it through. Just being able to hold on to that. I have two brothers, and both of them have lost friends. One to gun violence, and the other to autoimmune immune disease. Um, and you don't want to ever remember the rough times that you went through, but every piece of the good ones that you had, the uplifting moments, the times where you couldn't find anybody else and that person was able to be right there for you, just to be able to hold on to that moment. Because if I'm not going to be here, um to help see you through, at least you can hold on to a memory that will help you through that situation. So I would have in effect done something to touch someone.
All right, that's love. Society! Much love and appreciation again to our brother Mighty Klos for taking time out of his busy schedule to sit down and shine his light on Mars. Thank you so much.
Most
Hey,
definitely.
this show was a success. I must say, despite the adaptations and adjusting,
Oh
the flow, the ease of conversation, like
yeah. Right.
the jewels that you dropped, the knowledge that you shared, I
Right.
know I most definitely am taking something away from it. We've
Okay.
had people in and out, and I declare that somebody heard something that can
Mm-hmm.
help them on their journey, even if it's
Most
something
definitely.
as simple as remembering their time playing with Hot Wheels, you feel me?
Yes.
And the
Yes.
joy and excitement that that brought to their lives. So,
Right.
ladies and gentlemen, we're going to close it out the same way we brought it in. We're going to breathe, we're going to inhale all of that peace, all of that power, all of that strength, all of that courage, and we're going to release all of those distractions, all of those doubts and fears. So on three, breathe with me. One, two, three. Inhale, exhale. One more time. Inhale, exhale. Our closing affirmation is what's meant for me is already in motion. I stay focused, I stay grounded, and I trust the process.
Mm-hmm.
What is meant for me is already in motion. I
All right.
stay focused. I stay grounded. I trust the process. What is meant for me is already in motion. I stay focused, I stay grounded, and I trust the process. Also, you got to trust yourself through the process. You feel me? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this has been another dose of Marz Majik. Much love, gratitude, and appreciation to you and for you. Y'all join us back here, same time, same place. We are going up with CJ of CJ Music. This is another one that you don't want to miss. Peace, love, divine light. On our way out, hey, we giving you Mighty Close again with faith. Peace, love, divine light.
Are you ever say that? Are you ever really good? Like, are you ever really good? Like, 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 say that? Are you really good? Like, 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 say that? Are you really good? Like, 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 say that? Are you really good? Like, 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 like. Yeah, big ain't no weapon form, I got that shit on me. Cutting out ties, cause don't trust a penny in me. Got the light burning, now I'm shining till it go out. Push some pop, feel like you boy got that glow now. Love the thing, but I can't back just like I left some. Trying to tribulation, coming facing wrong number. Running out of rock. $100 versus spiritual. How the novice strips in your potential, sick of biblical. Just a now black jailbreak. I'm a demon slave. Got the power from my ancestors. They're my Lord and Savior. Pushing through this like we do. Strapped up like a mustard seed. Everybody wanna be great, but you gotta have faith. Faith, faith, faith. Say are you ready underneath it? Faith, 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 faith. Say are you ready underneath it? Faith, 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 faith. Say are you ready underneath it? Faith, 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 faith. Say it, hey, crazy thing about that faith, you gotta put some work into it. Coming from these sticky souls, you just gotta go through it. Pulling all the powerful cause we put it all in me. Even though these times up, I could not be too blind to see that everything I got around me really was a blessing. Everything I thought I lost, it really was a lesson. Cycles I was going through, he came up and brought me to. Took away a thought of holes and then he gave me all of me. No, I didn't give up on the plate like a March son. You can do this beat just like a Betty, I was still on. Everything is provided, I'm protected by grace. Provided my place like the lions, the David I had to have.